building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. One lonely beastie I be, all by myself without nobody. Well, it's going to be one of those days. We're cracking up a cold one right now. That's the kind of day it is. Of course, we're talking about the cold one being a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar with cherry. Come on, Daddy. Did you think I was really going to drink beer on the air? I don't do that. What's up, guys? It's Thursday. You know what that means. We're talking NWA. The sweet, refreshing taste of zero sugar. Cherry Dr. Pepper. This isn't a paid endorsement, but it should be. Coca-Cola bottlers or Dr. Pepper bottlers or whoever is responsible for making sure that this delicious cherry-flavored Dr. Pepper comes to my home. Let's talk business. Anyways, what's up, guys? My name is Jay Cal, and every Thursday I normally have a few other people on the show with me, but I feel like we're going solo. And I'm not talking solo Sokoa. I'm talking your boy Jay is flying solo. So lonely here. But nevertheless, I digress. We talk wrestling. We're here to talk NWA. But, we don't just talk specifically the NWA. We talk all kinds of things. And I may or may not be joined by my partner, Mr. Jaden. We'll see. I'm sending him a message now. Hey, what's up, Russell Rant? Thank you for the boxing glove. That's pretty cool. Thank you. That's the gold boxing glove. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm stalling for time because Mr. Jaden will be joining us momentarily. I will be talking with this microphone going forward. It is available in the TikTok shop. What's this? You on a Thursday? Well, yeah. See, Sean, you get it. They left me hanging, bro. I'm holding a microphone by myself. It's not plugged in. What's up, guys? Okay. Willie Bowen carrying the dead weight around here. Quick to point out, the Axolotl Kid likes the shirt. This was purchased when I was in Scotland. This logo right here is for my favorite Scottish football team. That would be the Caledonia, the Inverness Caledonia Thistle, aka the Cayley Thistle, representing the old surname there. But yeah, we're just hanging out, waiting for Jaden to join us momentarily. But I will say what's up to the chat here, both on TikTok and on YouTube and everywhere else we're streaming. I think we're also on Kick. So yeah, thanks for liking the live over on TikTok. Appreciate you guys. We've got, we do have Jaden. Jaden's in the house. But real quick, before I get to Jaden, because I know he's not ready yet, I'm going to say what's up to everyone in the chat. Willie Bowen has his Tyrus joke of the day, and that is, hey, J. Cal, Tyrus' underwear will be setting for another live-action version of the Smurfs movie. Why is his underwear going in the movie? What possible role could Tyrus' underwear play in the new Smurfs movie? I mean, if we're going to talk about Tyrus' underwear, which I don't really enjoy talking about, if we're going to talk about Tyrus' underwear, we could talk about putting it as a sale on any ship. Thanks for the follow, El Tucuman. I hope I said that correctly. No offense if I didn't. Sometimes I don't speak so well. Hey, Steve G's in the chat. He says, what's this? You on a Thursday? It's supposed to be me and a few other fellas. They're just not here yet. But you know who is here? Good friend of the show. Why is it small like that? It's Jaden. Jaden's here. What's up, Jaden? How you doing, buddy?
Can't get it off mute. I'm doing well.
I was like, Jaden will be with us momentarily. Oh man, it's a Tuesday. It's a Thursday. It's not a Tuesday. What am I talking about?
I don't know. This isn't a pre-party. It's more of a post-party.
It's a post party. I need the horns. I should get horns.
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
And then it can be like Psychosis or Jushin Thunder Liger.
I would love to have Jushin Thunder Liger. Jushin.
Well, you would have. He had horns. So did Psychosis.
Yeah. Well, who else had horns? The
Mantar
have. Yeah, I was gonna say, did Manatar have horns?
Mantar did it. I'm not Manatar.
Well, sorry, man.
Steve DeSalvo didn't. Steve DeSalvo also didn't have horns, but he was a Minotaur.
All right. Well, we'll just I'm just gonna move right along. Sean Mega says, Dan, they left you hanging. No, Jane was just running behind. Rick Del Santo, he was on assignment for us this week. Got us the results for Gotham Wrestling, and if you guys talk nicely to me, I'll share them on the live. We got Willie Bowen in the chat. Steve G is here. Like I said, the aforementioned Sean Mega. Steve G says, let's talk about the evolution of female wrestling. That's an interesting topic, but I don't have a great a base knowledge for that, so I don't know if I'd be able to give you the best show for that. But maybe it's something we'll look into. Sean Mega says Liger came out of retirement. I think I heard that. Did you hear about that?
He wrestled one match against some nobody, and at Wrestle Pro or WrestleCon or WrestleFest or WrestleCade or Lance Cade or Garrison Cade or Arcade or I like Lance Cade. He was one of my faves. Trevor Murdoch, shout out, by the way. That makes me think of you.
Yeah, every time I think of Cade, I think of Murdoch, and I'm like, well, we had Cade on this podcast after his last run with the WWE. Sure, it'd be nice if Trevor Murdoch would come on. Trevor. Hell, I've even talked to Mike Knox, so I mean, I've had both your partners on, so it's time for you to come on, Trevor. Noob's in the chat. What's up, Noob?
Good evening, Alliance crew. By the way, I didn't leave him hanging. Unfortunately, I'm working on my doctorate in business, and luckily the class got out a little early, so I was able to jump on a little early, but I would usually be even a little bit later.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I understand that.
Which reminds me, let me grab a nice, delicious Ghost Energy drink, the Electric Limeade, right now. Trying to get this show sponsored.
I mean, I'll get rid of all these W cans. They're not doing anything for me.
I like Dummy. I like Dubby. It's just, I don't like having to. If it was like Dubby was easier to get, I would drink more Dubby.
Yes, they have some really good flavors. In my opinion, they have some pretty good flavors. But the hard part is, like, I like my beverages carbonated. If I'm drinking a non-carbonated beverage, it's probably water or coffee. But if I'm drinking something like right now, I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper Cherry, 0 sugar. It's very delicious. But I'd much rather be drinking Dubby, a carbonated version of like Big Energy Tears or Beach and Peach or even Cali Cream. But they don't. I guess they do sell a limited supply of carbonated beverages, canned beverages, but like I don't know. It's not easy to, like you said, you have to purchase it and then you have to mix it. And for me, I like it carbonated, so then I have to throw it in the soda stream, and that's just a whole thing.
I would just dump seltzer in, but still mixing it will be a little bit difficult. But I would just dump it in the soda stream. I mean, not the soda stream, in the seltzer into it. I don't really like seltzer water.
Yeah.
But one of the local stores has a flavored seltzer water that actually has flavor. And it's actually, I think, like Sam's Club or maybe, I forget now, I've bought it. But it's surprisingly good, and I would definitely add that to Dubby. But again, it's Dubby is a little harder to get. I can get Ghost at a local GNC. You know, I was just at my local one yesterday, and I picked up some Ghost cans, and I picked up some Ghost hydration, and I picked up some Ghost Gamer, which is great, by the way. It's their version of Dubby.
Yeah.
But I'm not supposed to know this, but I heard a big rumor since we're talking about Dr. Pepper. One of the future flavors is Dr. Pepper, which kind of makes sense because they kind of own Ghost now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's a game changer. When I
That's
was on the
completely different promotion. We don't talk about them.
I'm gonna go see them Saturday. Sorry.
It's all right. Doesn't work on my joke, but it's still.
Sean Mega says I'm a Red Bull guy. So
Oh my God! What did your parents do to you? I am so sorry. We'll get you some therapy, Sean Mega. You might as well just be drink. Real quick, no. You might as well just be drinking formaldehyde because that's their sweetener if you get the sugar-free one. And if you're not getting the sugar-free one, you shouldn't mix sugar and caffeine. Vacant.
Nike 17 on TikTok just said, Kevin Owens, can we stop talking about beverages and get into the wrestling? Yes, we will momentarily, but we have to look. We're just kind of giving you guys a chance to get in the chat, getting everyone involved, and then we'll get to the wrestling. I promise we'll talk wrestling. I want to talk about TNA. I think that's a big deal, and we'll get into that. We're going to talk about the NWA and what happened this week, and we'll see what else we fall into. We'll see what happens.
What does Test and Albert have to do with anything?
What did you
I'd rather
say?
talk about Trish. Test and Albert, TNA.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'd rather talk about Trish.
Okay. Sean Mega says he's a Red Bull guy. I still have it up here on the screen. So on the Carnival cruise I took during Thanksgiving weekend and my birthday. That's
Happy 75th, by the way.
Thank you, son of a bitch. That is the beverage that they offered for energy drinks. They offered Red Bull. And my wife bought the energy drink package because she drinks about 3 cans a day. And she drinks almost as much as you, Jaden. And it wasn't cutting it. Now, your boy Jay was smart. I had some of these, and I will show you what they are. I had some of these in my bag, some W portables, and I was drinking these while on the cruise, and I was much happier than she was because it's like 80 grams of caffeine in a Red Bull and like 200 in a, I think it's like 200 in a W. I was in a much better place, and you said like you could get a Monster anywhere. Like literally, we were in Catalina. We bought Monsters in Catalina. We bought Monsters in Ensenada. You can get energy drinks anywhere. Red Bull though, oof.
Monster isn't good for you either, but some flavors at least tasty.
Yeah,
I'll never drink that green one. That green one's rancid.
It's
like they put the slime balls in a can.
We in our household we do like 3 flavors of the Monster. We go. Actually, that's not true. We got like 4 or 5 of them. But the white Monster is a staple. The strawberry Monster, the pink Monster is a staple. Then they have one.
That's staples, by the way.
Yeah. Then they call a rose one, which is really good. And then there's like this one that's
is it rose or rose?
Rose, excuse me. Then there's one that the can looks like a Miami Vice. It reminds me of Miami Vice, and it's like a cactus cooler type flavor. It's pretty good.
There is an alcoholic drink at the bar called Miami Vice, by the way. Or I wonder if that's what it tastes like. You know what they need to make? Ghost. Get Ecto Cooler.
Oh shit.
Ecto Cooler Ghost. Don't tell me that when we sell like a bajillion.
No,
they have Count Chocolate Ghost Protein.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's good. They're getting rid of, again, because they're owned by Dr. Pepper, there will be flavors that are going to be discontinued. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the Oreo. It's going to be the Chips Ahoy. It's going to be the Nutter Butter. But they got the Count Chocula one, and that's very, very good. Plus, their regular peanut butter cereal one is very good, too. And unfortunately, it means one of my favorite flavors of the energy drink, the Swedish Fish, is going.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Me too. It's one of my top 2. I'm sad about that, and the Red Berry too is another one I like a lot. But the Blue Raz is coming out under a new name, and it's coming out next month officially. Yes.
Sean Mega. All right, now this is going to start a fight because you said unsweetened tea. Excuse me, sir. There's either There's either tea or sweetened tea. There's no such thing as unsweetened tea. You're adding extra words for something you don't need to. It's tea. It's the same thing people say like what's the other one that bothers me a lot? Oh, boneless buffalo wings. That's chicken nuggets, man. It's chicken nuggets. If it's a buffalo wing, it's got a bone to it.
Technically, chicken nuggets. I don't. Yeah, we're gonna throw. But technically, chicken nuggets is ground up chicken. If it's actual chicken, it's popcorn chicken.
All right, I'm fine with
chicken
that.
Bites could even work.
Sure, chicken fingers. I'm okay with any of those vernaculars, right? Any of the verbiage you want to use. But if we're calling, so if someone tells me I want boneless buffalo wings, first I'm gonna say grow up. You're a child. And secondly, I'm going to say those don't exist. You can get chicken fingers.
I don't mind them. I do love my wings. Don't get me wrong. I'll eat wings until they fly. But I also do like the what they call the boneless wings too.
Yeah, they're look, they're fine. They're just not wings. They're not chicken wings. They're not boneless wings. They're chicken pieces. They're chicken, whatever you want to call it. I'm fine with whatever
pieces,
name. Yeah, I'm fine with whatever name you want to give them, as long as it's not boneless buffalo wings. And the same thing with unsweetened tea. There's tea or there's sweet tea. There is no such thing as unsweetened tea.
What about frozen hot dogs? Or frozen hot chocolate? That's actually the one that really gets me.
Isn't that just like ice cream?
Well, no, because hot chocolate has a very unique, distinct flavor because they add a lot of that coffee creamer to it that makes it the hot chocolate.
Sure.
But I'll eat it, but it should just be frozen cocoa then.
Sure.
You shouldn't call it frozen hot chocolate.
Oh, over on TikTok, Nike17, who's probably my new favorite viewer, says, "What is this show? First beverages, now chicken wings? Kevin Owens, what are you doing over there?" Hey, man.
Just because Kevin Owens has been going to the gym and absolutely slaying it recently, by the way. You've seen recent pictures just before I got on. Yeah, he's absolutely been slaying it recently. Doesn't mean he doesn't like his chicken wings and beverages. And doesn't mean he's not trying to get sponsored by Ghost. Make sure you try all the good flavors. Don't know their logo.
And we'll just say this. I am committed to a lifestyle change where I am in the gym 3 times a week. I'm watching what I'm eating. But I will indulge in things like chicken wings. I'll indulge in like a German chocolate cake if someone were so kind to make me one. I love food still. I just have changed how I view food. I don't look at it as a reward. I look at it as subsistence. Sorry. Some of the comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. What are you guys writing in here, man? Is that you, Nike? Keep it clean, brother. Steve G says no to the iced coffee. Also, okay. I'll be honest. I kind of like an iced coffee every now and then. I haven't had one in a while, but
can I tell you about Vietnamese iced coffee?
Please, wait. It's not like the Tijuana, Hong Kong, is it? Because I don't want to do that.
No, it isn't like the Burro donkey shows you go to in Tijuana either. But
I've never, Sir, I've never, nor will I ever visit a place like that. I'll never.
At a job I had a while ago, and F that place.
I know what place it is too.
The one of the employees used to bring us Vietnamese iced coffee, and I'd always order 2. They were like drinking love. When you had it, you felt happy, and you wanted to. Your life wasn't so bad, and I was getting my work done, and everything was so great. And then I found out they were 2,000 calories a piece and 800 milligrams of caffeine a piece, and no wonder I was able to complete my job in about 9 seconds.
Wait, I'm sorry, did you say 800 milligrams?
Yes, and it's natural caffeine, so it's not as harsh on you, say, as like, the stuff you get from the caffeine anhydrous and stuff like that. Caffeine from coffee doesn't hit the same as caffeine from, say, manufactured caffeine, but it was still a lot of damn caffeine. Yeah, and I was drinking 2 of those a day,
Yeah.
But they were so good.
What's my I guess I don't really have a guilty pleasure when it comes to that stuff. Like I I stopped going to Starbucks a while ago because there's a lot of sugar in those things. And I know you can do like the non-fat and sugar-free and all that stuff, but
You can get punched in the nuts too. Doesn't mean you want to.
That's
because
true.
you can.
It's true. It's true. And is it from cacao? Oh my God! Stop it. Okay, Mia, it's good to see you. Have a good one. And then American Strong says, "Is it from cacao, sir?"
Cacao is cocoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and cacao is great too. Like if you, I've had like a Mexican cacao, or actually more like a South American cacao drink, which is cacao, cinnamon, and believe it or not, cayenne pepper. And it's surprisingly good. Yeah. And I actually also, one of my favorite things to do is mix hot cocoa powder into straight coffee.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've done stuff.
I would take the powder, pour the hot coffee, and stir it, and that's great too. But the Mexican hot chocolate, you would think like you can get various degrees. Like cinnamon can be hot if you use real cinnamon instead of kasha. Actually, no, I got that wrong. Kasha is hot. We call that cinnamon. Cinnamon, actual good cinnamon, isn't spicy, and it also isn't red. It's a different color. But it's surprisingly good. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't say drink the ones that are actually made with straight up what are peppers? I can't think what they're called, but they're very hot. Speaking of hot too, I was at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. We did an event, not an event, but we did a meet and greet signing at the Holiday at Masso's, and I got a new hot sauce that was called Reaper, and I'm a very big fan of that.
Real quick, speaking of hot, TikTok is hot right now. We got Foxy in the chat, good friend of the show, Foxy. What's up? Thanks for hanging out. American Strong says the cacao is high in caffeine naturally. Add acai berry too. You can go white or green teas too. Raw green coffee beans too. I like my caffeine in a can or in a W container, but I hear you, man. And honestly, whatever gets you going. This morning I did C4. That's my favorite energy drink before the gym.
Sorry about that too.
What's wrong with C4?
Energy drinks? First of all, you shouldn't be taking any energy drinks before that. You should be doing pre-workout.
Well,
there is a difference in what your results are.
Well, okay. We'll talk about that later, because you do kind of give me some of my good info when it comes to that. Nike 17 has a question, so go for it. And then America Strong says, "Don't get me started in long-term bad wise." Yeah, a lot of the stuff I do is bad. I get it.
So is breathing. 100% of people who breathe will die.
This is true. This is true. Willie Bowen says the only pepper is the female rapper Sandy Peppa Denton. Is sexy and sizzling. Nice.
What a man! Oh, wait, no, yeah. I was about to sing the "What a Man" song, but that was also en vogue.
Yeah. Nike 17 says, "Do you think Cody should have joined the Rocket at the Elimination Chamber?" I'm glad they didn't. I know that we talk more NWA in this hour, but I will say this: like Cody Rhodes, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Cody Rhodes, I wouldn't put him with The Rock ever. I think Cody needs to be his own man, and if he does decide to go heel in the WWE, I hope he is heel devoid of The Rock. I think The Rock does have a place in the WWE, and he could still be used for special appearances, but bringing him back for the whole John Cena thing, I felt like tarnished that legacy, that storyline. And I don't even care that Cena went heel. I just don't think The Rock needed to be involved with how they did that and then took him away. So, no, I don't think he should have joined. I do think that Cody should go heel at some point. But as long as the merch sales are still skyrocketing and the kids are still chanting Cody's name, why would you turn Cody heel?
I don't know.
I mean,
I have plenty of reasons why, but I think this is the wrong forum for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. This is an NWA show, and we do appreciate you guys hanging out on TikTok. And I'm still going to interact with you guys, but we're going to keep the content for wrestling kind of narrowed into the NWA, and we're actually going to talk a little bit about TNA that used to be connected to the National Wrestling Alliance quite a few years ago. But they just announced that they have a new deal starting January 15th, 2026. We will see TNA Wrestling on AMC.
Along with The Walking Dead.
Yeah, well, The Walking Dead and
Breaking Bad.
Call Saul, Breaking Bad. I mean, AMC has had a host of great shows over the years. Adding
Hell on
TNA
Wheels, by the way. Look that up. Such a great show, Hell on Wheels. Anson Mount was in there.
Who?
I think it was his name, Anson Mount.
I'm not familiar.
He's now on Star Trek Strange New World as Captain Pike.
I'll take your word for it. But
excellent show, by the way.
What's it called?
Hell on Wheels. Hell on Wheels. It's about the building of the railroads, and it goes through the Old West.
Oh, okay. I get, you know what? Where I find most of my shows, honestly, is when I'm on TikTok, and I
started watching Ghost.
That's what got me into Breaking Bad. I never saw an episode of Breaking Bad or Shameless. Both those shows started showing up in my feed, and then I had to watch them. All right. Getting into this talk about TNA, of course, the deal with AMC. I mean, we have a limited amount of knowledge about what happened, what transpired. I mean, I've read reports that Nick Khan from the WWE helped negotiate this deal. I've heard other reports saying that the WWE will now no longer be working together with TNA, which contradicts what TNA President Carlos Silva said, and that they plan to continue to feature NXT talent, and it would be an opportunity for the WWE to have its NXT talent appearing on 2 nights a week, both on the CW and now on AMC. And I want to ask you, Jaden, what's your thoughts on this move? Obviously, it's going to be more eyeballs for TNA Wrestling. Yeah. Obviously, because of the greater eyeballs, there's going to be a larger revenue streams coming in. Cost to produce the show is going to be handled a little bit more by AMC. But by and large, like, how much of a game changer is this for TNA Wrestling?
I haven't had cable in a while, but when I did, the station that TNA was on was like in the upper 400s. AMC was in the, I think, in the 40s. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but when cable companies, people who don't cut the cord, cable companies put more focus on the channels that are lower, because, except for obviously the pay channels, because they tend to be available on more packaging. They're the ones that drive people to cable more than, say, the upper channels do. Again, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, they put them on the ones to try to get people to sign up to cable, even just the most basic of the cable packages, and then or at least the next beyond that, and then the other ones on, you have to pay usually a higher premium to get those ones, but they're not necessarily, the ones that everybody goes out of their way to have. And for the longest time, AMC was way higher than any channel that the WWE was on, except for USA. USA was 34, and AMC was like in the 30s, in the 40s, I mean. But like Spike TV was 75. And nowadays it's so much different, where there's so much out there, and you can get your sources and your information and your media and your television, everything else right here on your phone or tablet, whatever, your computer, whatever you happen to be watching this on. But back when you had to watch on a television, it was so much better. You wanted to be on a cable station or a network station lower on your cable packaging. That also means, though, still to this day, advertising still pays more for premium content on premium channels than they do on, say, the higher ones. Also, what was it, Access, I think is the name of the one they were on. That's kind of like the equivalent to being in the witness protection program.
Yeah, it was hard for anybody to find them in Access. So Access, for those of you that don't know, used to be HD Net, and that was the channel that was started by Mark Cuban. It was one of the first channels to feature HD programming on cable. And that was the original home for Ring of Honor before they were sold to Sinclair. A lot of years that they were on HD Net, and then it was bought out by Anthem. almost specifically to be a home for TNA Wrestling. Like they changed the channel to Access, but it still had a very low frequency. Like people weren't not frequency. That's not the right word. It had a low visibility. It just wasn't on a lot of the carrier packages. It wasn't on a lot of the channels, cable programs to get to that channel. And as Foxy said here on TikTok, she's agreeing with you, Jane. Scrolling for channels, you're not likely to come across Access. You will find AMC before you'll find Access, and I think that's pretty accurate. Just because of the channel order as well, like you were mentioning, Jaden. And Willie Bowen says he loves DirecTV. So
DirecTV was the first place that they had the HD net, by the way. And the only way I was able to watch Ring of Honor back then, as I was working at this place that doesn't really exist in the mainstream as it used to, was a place called Radio Shack. And they had part of the things is if you sold DirecTV, you were able to, they sold them there. And because of that, they had DirecTV stuff. And I was able to use the DVR, which was kind of a new thing too, and technology wise, that was associated with that to put Ring of Honor on, and I would watch it while selling cell phones and TVs and batteries to people at Radio Shack. And that was the only way I was able to say you couldn't even get it on Comcast originally.
Yeah. For me, I used to work at Best Buy. I had a DirecTV package, but I don't think I even had HDNet. And if I did, I didn't watch it not until ROH appeared on it. And then even then, that was a short-lived time too, because we cut cable. I haven't had cable in probably like 10 years. I did use YouTube TV for a while, which was adequate. But even still, like, some of the channels that you like watching would get pulled off. Like they recently had a dispute with Disney, and ABC was off YouTube, and ESPN and all those channels were unavailable. So anyways, let's get back to the business at hand, though. TNA being on AMC, I mean, this is a brand new day for TNA Wrestling. I think you were saying this, Jaden, that I believe that AMC had bigger visibility than even the Spike Network or Paramount, whatever.
Yeah, Spike TV. Now it's Paramount, yeah, I think. But Spike TV or the Nashville Network or the whatever the 10,000 names that station had at the one time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was where TNA was originally.
Yeah.
This is their biggest. This is bigger than when they were on the chat. All right, here's something that's going to be funny. Before, back in the day, to watch television, you actually, if you wanted to know what was on, you had to go on this one channel that scrolled everything that you had to watch. And TNA was on that.
Yeah.
At one time.
So TNA, they started off on Fox Sports. That was their first TV deal. And I feel like that was a decent deal, but I don't know if that was a pay to play type thing or if they were being, say that again.
It was. That was their first. Technically their first television was they had syndicated stuff during the pay-per-view day. But the first people that and then they used the deal with Fox to try to show proof of concept that they could go onto a cable station. Because I don't think they were doing, I think that's when they were not even doing the weekly pay-per-views anymore.
Yeah, they stopped the weekly pay-per-views to do Fox Sports. And that's, I watched maybe the first 3 episodes of TNA Wrestling back in the day when it first was on the weekly pay-per-view, mostly because I wanted to see the whole deal. Of course, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, even back then, was important to me. But then I saw guys that were wrestling in SoCal, like Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, who had been wrestling with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. I got to see these guys on TV, and it was kind of cool to see the maturation of the talent that I had seen at the independent wrestling level now appear on, this big TV show. And of course, I didn't understand that what TNA was at first. I was just like, okay, $10 for 2 hours of wrestling. That's not a bad deal. And I don't think I'd pay that now. But I at the time, it was pretty cool. And getting to see the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And it was a good time. but obviously, like, I don't think it was a sustainable model because, well, they didn't survive under that format. And then moving to Fox Sports, if that was a pay-to-play deal, then of course they weren't making a lot of money there either. But the move to TNN or Spike TV, whatever it was called at the time, that was a big jump for them. And of course, they got a lot more eyeballs. I feel like, though, the leadership at the time was a little convoluted, and they wanted to go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw on against WWE, and I just feel like that was a huge misstep. And then, of course, with all the stuff with Vince Russo and Spike not wanting to be in business with anyone who's using Vince Russo and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know how much of that was true and how much of that was fiction, but clearly TNA had to leave Spike, and then they went to Destination TV, and there was that other place too. I can't remember what the channel was. And then now, they've been on Axis for the last few years, and people have been talking about TNA Wrestling like just falling off or perhaps closing its doors. But now they're on this big channel. Like, AMC's huge, and AMC might even have more visibility than TBS.
No.
Okay. Huh?
No.
Oh.
TBS is one of the original big daddies of television. Always will be. They still get more. They're 22 last time I had cable, and that was actually, they were higher up than USA Network when it came to visibility back in the day. When it came to what the actual, eventually USA became the number one cable station, but TBS was one of the big original founding fathers of major cable television. ESPN was part of that. USA was part of that, but they were one of the big dogs. And when it comes to that, technically, like I said, if you count the entire packaging, you'll probably say the TNT TBS packaging is bigger than USA. Even a bigger USA still is a bigger cable network. Singly. But AMC is still huge for them.
Yeah, and I think people need to like really kind of appreciate this too, because this is going back in time where, when I was a kid, and we're about the same age, when I was a kid, AWA existed in its own platform. I believe it was ESPN at the time. The WWE was on USA, either Primetime Wrestling or what would eventually become Monday Night Raw, and on syndication, of course. And then, WCW or NWA Jim Crockett Promotions running on TBS. I mean, you had three viable options, three viable wrestling companies that were all competing for your eyeballs, competing to get you to watch. And of course, the WWE won that war. But now we're in this new modern era where you have a billionaire putting wrestling on TBS and TNT with Warner Brothers Discovery. You've got TKO, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, putting on wrestling on on USA, on Netflix, ESPN, CW. I think they even have a show on AMC as well, and also all the ancillary programming they do, like Evolve. I think that's on. I can't remember what channel Evolve is on. I think it's like, which one?
Tubi, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tubi. There you go. So I mean, I thought you did. So there's a lot of content that's out there. So for TNA to get this opportunity, and again, now TNA just doesn't have this one deal in the US. They also have a pretty big deal in Canada as well. When WWE took Raw onto Netflix, that created a void in the Canadian market as well. And I think it's TSN or whatever the equivalent of what USA, wherever Raw was on in Canada, now TNA fills that void in Canada as well. So these are pretty big deals. And of course, they've had a lot of international reach as well in the past. They still do Explosion. I think that's on syndication in the UK as well as in the US. So there is a lot more TNA right now than there ever has been. And on top of all that, now you've got three competing companies. Of course, there's a lot of there's working agreement right now between the NXT brand and the TNA brand. And we've seen TNA talent featured even on main roster shows like the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. it's just kind of wild to me to think about this, where, you know, TNA, WWE, and AEW are all existing in the same universe as nationally televised programs. What does that mean for pro wrestling, Jaden?
For pro wrestlers, it means lots of extra work and exposure. For
Yeah.
pro wrestling, it all depends on out there. Just because you have a product and you put it on a major network doesn't mean that it's being seen or that's what's being seen as good for the business.
Yeah.
So you have to always think about that. I mean, you could put the NWA on right after Monday Night Football or something like that. But if they're going to put those skits that we have to see, it doesn't mean it's good for television. I mean, we're not going to be turning away, especially now with attention spans the way they are. But more exposure with more wrestling means more stars can potentially be created. They're always to really be at its most successful. Wrestling had three bigger companies. Even when it was regional, it had at least three bigger companies.
Yeah.
And you know, that's I think that's what's best for business if you had three strong companies, especially. I mean, right now, I think AEW would kill for ECW on TNN numbers.
Yeah.
Because they were as horrible as that was bigger than what's going on with AEW on their numbers right now. Heck, I think it's actually bigger than what's going on with WWE right now. And that's sad, but it's just the way the industry is. There's so many places fighting for your eyeballs nowadays, and a lot of people don't necessarily get their content right from watching it live on Netflix or on ESPN or on wherever it happens to be.
This just handed to me. TNA no longer has a broadcast deal in the UK. Explosion is available for free on YouTube in the UK. Okay. I guess I was misunderstood. Our friend Foxy over on TikTok says, hopefully a healthy ecosystem for wrestlers to get paid. And I do agree with that. I also feel like this is 100% where we're going to see the cream rise to the top. The guys like Alexander Hammerstone and Richard Holiday, who are still I don't understand how they're still available, still not under a contract with a bigger wrestling company. Now TNA is going to have a little bit more flexibility to spend money on talent. You know, I guess Matt Cardona works for TNA without a contract. And so we're going to see, I feel like, that cream rising to the top yet again. And, you know, in this day and age, I mean, you're going to see TNA will probably sign a few more independent wrestlers and start elevating those talents, which means there's going to be a void for the top of the card in a lot of areas. You know, we look at the NWA with Silas Mason, the Thrillbilly, and he's probably in the best shape of his life. His promos are probably some of the best promos you're going to see in pro wrestling. His in-ring ability is top-notch. And if he needs to, the guy can shoot as well. So I'm curious as to see, like, who's going to be the next guy to get elevated and signed to TNA Wrestling, or, you know, or will AEW start signing more talent to keep them from going to TNA Wrestling, or will WWE start signing talent to keep them away from TNA Wrestling? I think there's a lot of things that could happen because of this new dynamic, this new gear in the wrestling machine that is, you know, United States Pro Wrestling.
Here's the thing too, when it comes to the ecosystem, people only had for the longest time, the only true viable competition for people to make money, to be seen, at least that was the theory, was AEW. But with AEW not using so much talent or regulating them to Ring of Honor Dark, as I call it, Ring of Honor Dark. Some people now might see TNA as an option, and that means now it may be harder for. And I know that's part of the reason that if AEW was, if TNA was helped by the WWE, that's part of the reason why. But it's now an option for somebody who wants to try to elevate, because it looks like TNA is a way to get to the WWE too.
It is,
or at least the NXT. You know, yeah.
Well, we've seen it, right? So we saw it with Joe Henry. We saw it with
well, maybe Mike Santana.
Jordan Grace, probably Mike Santana. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if we see somebody like Frankie Kazarian get that spot. And
I don't know. He might have to cut his hair.
Isn't that why he quit the first time? It's because they wanted him to cut his hair, and then like a month later he cut his hair.
Oh, about a month later, but yeah.
And I do want to point out, Noob and Willie Bowen both said this. And of course, yeah, Pluto TV and Roku are both viable options as well for content-based consumers. Of course, WoW and NWA share the Wrestling Central, which now airs on both Pluto TV and on the Roku app, as well as, the NWA is also heavily featured on the Roku Sports. I believe they're aired twice on Tuesday, and I think they get a show, a replay during the weekend as well. And even recently, they've had a couple of 4-hour blocks dedicated to the NWA reruns. So there's a lot of wrestling content out there. There's no excuse for people who want to watch pro wrestling. Like you say, oh, well, I don't want to pay for it. Roku's free, Pluto's free. You could watch those applications. Yeah. YouTube's free. There's all kinds of wrestling on YouTube. Our friends Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators put on a lot of content out on YouTube. I don't think that there's an excuse now. If you want to watch wrestling any night of the week, any day, any time, you can find fresh pro wrestling, or you can watch old wrestling. It's just all of it,
Here's the thing too, with people, another thing about the ecosystem. If TNA is moderately successful on AMC, that could open the doors for places like the NWA, like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, like Gotham, like MLW. That could open the doors for other wrestling promotions that have content out there and just looking for a bigger way to get out there. I think Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, I think NWA, I think MLW should be contacting Anthem right now and see what they can do about getting their program on the formerly known as HDNet.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, if I'm MLW, like, that's a slam dunk. This is the move that I want to make. I want to be on the Anthem channel, not necessarily because I think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's a foot in the door. It's getting your show out on broadcast TV. Now I know it's not a huge marketplace. Everything that we just said about it was holding TNA back could also be a push in the right direction for a lot of wrestling companies. And MLW, go ahead.
No, good. I thought you were done. I thought I had a break. Good.
MLW is one of these companies who they've been around for quite some time. I mean, there was that hiatus for like 10 or 15 years, but they've been running around quite a bit. And, they had to deal with Vice, and, apparently there was lawsuits and litigation involved, but they're pumping out a product that's on YouTube. So it's not even seen by a television audience. And I know Sean Mega's in the chat. He mentioned something like, well, people don't watch TV anymore. And that's true to a degree, but there's a lot of people who still do watch TV. And I feel like it's an easy way to get to that next level. Is it going to make or break a company? No, but it can help them get to that next level. It took TNA Wrestling a little bit longer than I think they wanted to get to that spot. But Carlos Silva's only been with the company for about a year. And Sean Mega says, he says Anthem, TNA will not help the other side. I think Anthem.
Why not?
I think Anthem would be very interested in having an affordable product to put on their TV channel.
Maybe not MLW because of their working agreement working with the WWE. I can see maybe not MLW. But if they can get a programming but now they have a station that needs programming that's used to pro wrestling, if it can get something inexpensive to take that place, the reason the Sinclair Broadcasting bought Ring of Honor is because it was content that they could put on and was inexpensive to run. If it wasn't for their bumbling of purchases of sports networks and stuff like that, where they lost so much money, they'd probably still own Ring of Honor right now.
There was that.
It wasn't necessarily the pandemic that killed Ring of Honor and that deal.
And on top of that, too, with what you just said, before Sinclair bought Ring of Honor, I don't know if this is common knowledge, they were looking at the NWA. They wanted to buy the NWA. The only problem was at the time they wanted to buy the NWA. the NWA was owned by a pro wrestling organization led by Bob Trowbridge, where it was a group of members. It was a co-op, and they couldn't agree to being sold to Sinclair Broadcasting. And that was before the lawsuit with Bruce Tharpe and everything else, where the ownership changed hands. Had Sinclair came around at the time that Bruce Tharpe had the NWA, I'm almost positive they would have bought the NWA. And then we could be talking about the NWA going out of business.
Or Tony Khan owning it.
Or Tony Khan owning it. So real quick, Foxy said something pretty intelligent on TikTok, and I want to share it. She goes, if you think about it, NXT stars have potential for the most exposure between NXT, TNA, Evolve, and then she also brings up now that Lucha Libre AAA, they just signed a deal with Fox in Mexico, and a lot of the NXT talent, Ethan Page, Lola Vice, they've been making appearances down in AAA as well. So it's kind of getting the NXT stars have a lot of potential to be seen in different markets. So I feel like that's something else that should be pointed out too. Real quick, Cracker Barrel said MLW Wrestling should have been the next major wrestling company with a TV deal, not TNA. What's your take on that, Jaden?
With TNA working with WWE, I don't think that's true. MLW has been working on things for years, and hopefully, I'd like to see a wrestling resurgence and surgence where people are picking up MLW and NWA and Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Please, if you guys know anybody, send them our way. And Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and all that stuff, where everybody has a home on broadcast and / streaming media.
Yeah, I mean,
it needs to be both, honestly.
And I'm beginning to feel like that's the trend, especially with it. Again, I don't want to make this all about the WWE, but they're pricing fans out of the equation. It's getting harder and harder. Like, look, and I get it. They just sold out the Petco Park down in San Diego. They just literally sold out a 40,000 seat venue with way overpriced tickets that I couldn't afford to go to that event, and it's only 2 hours from my house. And they're going to do the same thing for WrestleMania in Las Vegas again, and they're going to continue to price out Joe consumer, which means Joe wrestling fan needs to find a new place to watch pro wrestling, and now TNA gives you an alternative. AEW has been an alternative for the last few years, and companies like Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, Grassroots, right there in New Jersey. If you're in New Jersey, go check out Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. If you're in Long Island, go check out Gotham Wrestling. They run in West Nyack. If you're in California, in the Los Angeles area, you can go check out Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. There's so many different opportunities. I heard MLW is now going to be broadcasting, or at least filming their shows in North Carolina. The NWA films most of their content in Tampa. I mean, this is the time. Wrestling is still on an upswing, and if you're outpriced by what the WWE is doing, if you can't afford to check those vehicles out, there's a lot of other options for you now, all over the country. It's really getting easier to watch pro wrestling than it's ever been.
Here's the thing, though, and this is, I think, why Anthem does what it does. NHL, the number 4 big sport,
Yes,
should be higher, in my opinion, but they made so many mistakes, and they still make so many mistakes. But they are on an upsurge in popularity and ticket sales and revenue and everything else. And they're expensive. I'm a New Jersey Devils fan. Go Devils. And it's expensive to go to the Rock and go to, even when you get cheap seats, which is actually more fun because they don't yell at you for being rowdy. But even when you get cheap seats, it's expensive to go to the Rock. And that's, they have 82 games a year that you go to, plus playoffs, and don't even get me started about playoffs. I spent less on playoff tickets in 1995 than I would go for a regular ticket for the San Jose Sharks,
Gee.
Nowadays.
And I know,
so that should, and the structure.
Yeah, I know a little bit about hockey, and I know the Sharks aren't a very good team.
They're getting better. They're finally, after so many years, the only team that doesn't apparently get better is Buffalo. But after a while, you're bad enough. You start getting enough good players, and if you have a smart management, you start getting a good team. Vancouver is also a perfect example of somebody who's been bad enough and doesn't have smart management. But still, and that's the fourth sport. NBA is even more expensive. MLB, Major League Baseball, is even more expensive, and don't even get started on the NFL.
Can't afford to go to
The
an
problem
NFL
is
game.
pro wrestling. And pro wrestling has always been considered cheaper entertainment, and that's part of the problem with perception. Is when it comes to those people looking for sponsors, the cost of a WWFE ticket actually turned away people who were looking to buy sponsorships for the WWF,
Really?
even when they were selling out, or WWE. They were even selling out. It's a perception out there because of the cheap ticket. Also, there was a thing for a while where WCW cut their ticket prices significantly, and they sold less tickets. And then all of a sudden, when Randy Savage showed up and was wrestling against Ric Flair, and the house show market was starting to get a little bit better, they raised those prices, and people were like, "Oh, I'll never be able to afford going now." But way more people were going as soon as they raised the prices. If you give the product that people want and the stars, people will find a way to go. People are, people joke around with like, "Oh, wrestlers are killing it with the Roddies, whatever it is in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh or whatever." Riyadh. I just found out people I know just bought tickets. They could barely afford anything. They're working at a job where it's not like a big paying job, but they're going to Saudi Arabia to WrestleMania and spending all that money to that ticket. That is pretty much their almost, I'd say 75% of their annual income that they're spending to go to this. And people are going to do it. If you create the idea of perception of this over time, that's going to be normal. People are going to expect to pay that price because people expect to pay the price now in the NHL and the NBA and the MLB and the NFL and even Major League Soccer, which is like distant fifth, is raising their prices right now. But that said, you're a fan of the Anaheim Ducks, then you should be happy right now. They got some good team. They got some good players too, and they're actually playing really, really, really well. They sucked for a long time. And also, what kind of Mickey Mouse operation names their team the Duck?
Oh shit! Don't even get me started on the Disney franchises. I mean, they own the Angels too, and it was pretty not pretty, I should say. They won a World Series and then sold the team the next year. But I wanted to get to some of the conversation happening in the chat because certainly I don't want to forget you guys. Of course, we live stream both on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. I hope TikTok doesn't punish me for saying these things. But Willie said, "I remember Radio Shack."
Wow, me too.
Yeah. Noob says AMC.
I actually miss it.
I do too. When I was in Cabo San Lucas a few years ago, they had Radio Shacks, but they also had Sears. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much of that was a legit connection to the original company.
The original company's still around for Radio Shack. It's just very small, and in fact, there's more in Canada than any other place.
That's wild. Noob says this: 2026 is going to be an insane year for wrestling, especially for the NWA. Silas is definitely going to elevate the 10 pounds of gold in 2026. It's definitely going to be a great year for him. Noob.
Yeah,
I 100% agree with you on that. And that was like kind of the next topic I wanted to talk to Jaden about is how are we going to qualify Silas Mason's success? Like, what is it going to take for him to be considered a successful NWA World Heavyweight Champion? He's got big shoes to fill with Tom Latimer having defended the title in Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, Canada's biggest wrestling promotion at the moment. They had this opportunity to wrestle around the world. So far, Silas Mason, they just broke the kayfabe. Since he won the title, like, the way the NWA runs, they don't they keep the kayfabe alive. They don't show the spoilers from their live events. So until it airs on TV, it doesn't happen in the NWA universe. And of course, that all changed a couple weeks ago when Silas Mason defeated Tom Latimer to become the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And then this week he has his first official title defense. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more coming for him, as well as, he has a match scheduled to defend at Saul Win, which we won't see for a couple of months. He's also going to be defending the title at the Joe Kazana Christmas show, December 17th in Tennessee. So, I guess the next thing to say is, like, what does Silas Mason have to do for you, Jaden, as a fan and as a person who's involved with the wrestling business? What does he have to do to be considered successful, and what does his run have to look like?
All right. I actually talked to Silas Mason's new publicist about things that I thought that Silas Mason needed to do. And Silas Mason's new publicist is doing a great job in getting some of that started already. Number one, he needs visibility. So his social media was barely existent. And in the brief time since he officially, quote, quote, won the NWA World Championship, his social media presence has increased probably 70-fold, which is great. Still got to get him on TikTok. He's not on TikTok if anybody's listening, or if he is, that stays where I'm following him isn't. But he has done a great job, or his publicist has done a great job in getting his information out there. I like seeing the promos. I like seeing the footage, the highlights. I like seeing him in his mixed martial arts class.
Yeah.
I think that's something that does a great job. And another person I'm going to simultaneously give a big shout out to is, what about Mondo? Mondo did a great job of taking that free gift he was given and the NWA is given with the AEW and the national title, and trying to do as much as he can with it. But right now, what I think he needs to be done right now, he needs to get out there more. TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Twitch and the formerly known as Twitter and all those things is a start. But he needs to do everything. He needs to be out there on places where people can see him as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and he needs to be seen against people who elevate him and his reign as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. The Joe Kazana Promotions is fine. It's his home promotion. That should be a stop for him anyway. That should be a no-brainer. But he needs to be and say, why wasn't he at WrestleCade? They knew he was going to be champion.
Yeah, that's
he
wild.
Should have been at WrestleCade. Mondo was. Tiffany Nieves was. I believe both the Page sisters, or the Henry sisters, they were there. And I know there was other NWA talent there. He should have been at WrestleCade.
The Country Gentlemen were there.
Yes.
Markova was there.
Who was there? Sorry.
Markova, Natalia Markova was there.
Oh, Markova, yeah. That's right. She defended the women's championship. But he should have been a WrestleCade. That should have been a no-brainer right there. He needs to be in places that matter. If he has a contact, if he can ask Tom Latimer, how did I get into a Maple Leaf Pro? He should ask Tom Latimer and get on MLP. It is not the be-all, end-all. I know so many in the NWA forum think that that Tom Latimer being on MLP is bigger than anything in the world, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And everybody knows that that's not true, because the greatest thing since sliced bread was actually before sliced bread, and that was Betty White. But Betty White told him.
I know, but that's just I love how you got there.
Yeah. But it's a good start. It's a good start. Ohio Valley Wrestling, and again, this works with Mondo too. They lost a lot of momentum after their thing they did. They're good, right there.
Yeah,
a lot of good things. They lost a lot of momentum after their Netflix documentary, but they still have some eyeballs. They have a television show that's on YouTube, and the NWA title still means something. Him and Mondo should find a way on that television station. He needs good opponents. I mean, Richard Holiday's out there, and he's putting himself out there. He's really getting his name out there. He's doing those videos, and these people are talking about him now, and he's become a hot free agent. Why isn't there? They should be right now. He should be calling up. I have his number if you wanted to. He should be calling up Holiday and say, "All right, where can we get this match going? Even if it has to be at the Exodus Pro."
Well, it's funny you brought up Exodus Pro, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. But Richard Holiday is appearing for Exodus Pro this Saturday, which they'll make their return to the NWA YouTube channel, which means that for free you guys could check out Exodus Pro. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, that's a great point. Exodus Pro has some visibility. Richard Holiday has kind of been a regular member of that roster for over a year now. And having a matchup between him and Silas Mason, if it starts there and can travel, I mean, we saw this before. We saw a perfect. There's a blueprint to do this, and it was Adam Pearce and Colt Boom Boom Cabana. I almost called him by his shoot name. They did a best of 7 series that took them all over the country. They had 2 matches in the same spot over 7. And it started in Hollywood and ended in Australia. And I feel like that similar blueprint can be recreated by anyone who's got talent and marketability. And we know Silas Mason is a hell of a lot of marketability. I feel like he just needs the opportunity. And an opponent like Richard Holiday or an opponent like Hammerstone or, somebody else out there, like Ben Bishop or Tommy Invincible, whoever the hot internet wrestling person is right now, you put them into a series of matches with Silas Mason, whether it starts off in Tampa at the TV tapings or in Exodus Pro or in Seaverville with Crossfire or wherever. I feel like you could get a lot of momentum out of that. And there's literally the blueprint. Go watch the 7 Levels of Hate documentary with Adam Pearce. He lays it all out for him.
And Holiday's willing to travel. He did an event on Thursday for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators at the Rowan College of Burlington County. And then he got a flight, wrestled the next 3 nights in like Georgia, Tennessee, and another state. That's 4 states in 4 days, wanting to travel and putting himself out there. And I remember that he got to an event and it was canceled. And he said, "All right, what's we can do? We can pay you now. And you can go home, or there's this promotion that's down. It's a couple hours ride, and would you want to go with that?" And they did that. They got him a couple hours. He drove. It wasn't even a place that originally booked there, but they took the booking and got a booking just because he wants to put himself out there, and that was impressive to me. That was incredibly impressive. I know that's why Dr. Zirconium reached out to him.
Well, it not for nothing. He also just made his debut with Gotham Wrestling. In fact, he took on Duke Hansen, who we saw on Power tonight. So, I mean, we did see a lot of, Holiday's a guy that's certainly putting in the work. I mean, he looks good. His promos are good. The finishing moves a little on the goofy side, but that's okay. He's a great heel.
It's a signature maneuver.
It is a signature maneuver, and I hope to God I never see it. But, yeah.
That would be nuts.
Catch you by the short hairs. Double D says, "I hope I see Holiday's finishing move." I
could arrange that, Double D, when you come to Dog Event. Maybe he'll be there one time.
Although that would be a very cool TikTok video. If I could have Richard Holiday hit his finishing move on me, I think I might get more than 300 views on that.
But yeah, he just hit 1 million. He just had 1 million views for one of his TikTok videos. That's a lot of people watching something.
And you know what it is? It doesn't disrespect the integrity of pro wrestling, because that maneuver has been used for decades and centuries. It's not like grabbing somebody's and flipping them. It's a legit wrestling maneuver, one that you don't commonly see as a finish. But
I've used it in amateur wrestling.
I did too.
Greg, they call it a high crotch then, but still.
You lead it into the fireman's carry and it's completely legal.
If you do it right, it is.
Craig says, "I love the Pierce Cabana feud. I bought a digital download of 7 Levels of Hate several years ago. It's a fantastic documentary." Craig, you saw me in the documentary then. It was one of two that I did that year. I only had like 5 seconds in that documentary, but I was in it, brother. I was in it. Filmed for an hour for 5 seconds. Thanks, Pierce.
Speaking of
Son of a
docs,
bitch.
there should be somebody following around doing a almost like a what do you call that? A 10 pounds of gold type series.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's something the NWA might do well with. If they could only, could do something. I have a feeling the NWA could do well with that. But there's other people out there too. Like you said, but you mentioned Ben Bishop. Ben Bishop does the same thing. Right now, in their own company, they have Vaughn, what's his name?
Jack Vaughn.
Jack Vaughn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Vaughn does these videos, and he's got something. They should be capitalizing on him, NWA and Silas Mason. But there's also Cardona. If Cardona is still available, yes, I know that if you want a spoiler, that he'll be wrestling Cardona sometime, but he should be doing it again if he can. Anybody that's got, and there's other wrestlers. You don't have to necessarily have to be like the independent and the NWA guys. I know some of the TNA guys still do independent stuff.
And we don't know how long that's going to be a thing, but while it still is, why not capitalize on it? Like, look, I get that maybe Mike Santana isn't going to be available for something like this, and of course Frankie Kazarian is not going to put himself in a situation where he looks bad. But there are plenty guys on that TNA roster who I think would give the aura of somebody like spectacular, something outstanding, and putting a match with I'm trying to think of this Deanna Purrazzo. Deanna Purrazzo's husband, Steve Macklin.
Yes, from New Jersey, by the way, both of them.
Steve Macklin versus Thrillbilly Silas Mason. Are you fucking kidding me? That would pop. That would be.
He just wrestled it for the last Monster Factory event ever. Steve Macklin was on it. He's a Monster Factory guy, but he just wrestled. Right there. That's a great step. And Mike, if you can get him there, and again, that's his bread and butter. That was where he came from. That was his original home. But I'm sure somebody promoting the ECW arena can get that to happen, or the 2300, or somewhere. But there's other visibility places he could be. If they can get him out there, they need to. He needs to be against these talents. He needs to be in these places where he can be seen. He needs to. That documentary is 10 pounds of gold would be amazing for him. Silas, if you can fund it yourself, you're investing in yourself. I know it's not cheap to get it done well, but you can invest in yourself, because if you want to, the NWA World Heavyweight title is your ticket to big things. That championship belt has a aura to it still. It has a recognizability still. That belt's been on WWF television. That belt's been on TNA television. That belt's been on Ring of Honor television. That belt was part of the original concept that started AEW. That belt itself, or a reasonable facsimile of it, and until Tony Khan makes a national wrestling championship and has it look just like it, maybe that'll come in the future. But that belt still holds gravitas, and being seen with the documentary and on television and anywhere you can get yourself out there, you need to be. And you know who else? There's Japan. And I think he's custom made for All Japan Pro Wrestling. Yes, All Japan is 3 on that hierarchy for the promotions, and is right now the TNA before it started working with the WWE version of the promotion there. But it still can get you some eyeballs, and it'll still be a big deal. You need to be international. You need to be in Canada. If you can get in Mexico, Billy Corgan, do a concert somewhere and get them booked in places too. And also, speaking of get booked on places, I'm going to go on. I'm sorry I'm taking up the time, but why he needs to be on Busted Open Radio. He needs to be on the Jim Van Vliet or whatever guy's name.
Van Vliet. Ariel Helwani needs them.
Ariel Helwani.
Ariel Helwani. Oh, that would be amazing. That would be
the British guy James, who works for Dutch Mantel. I think him and Dutch Mantel would just be fun, just listening to talk to each other. And I think Dutch would absolutely fall in love with him, and something like that. And Stevie Richards too. Stevie Richards would absolutely fall in love with him. And I think that's something that if he can get him on those podcasts. And most importantly, he really, really needs to be on the alliance-wrestling.com, the number one source of news for the National Wrestling Alliance. But he needs to get his name out there on everywhere he can that will put his name out there and show up with that 10 pounds of gold and cut those promos.
We'll reach out to his publicist again. But real quick, you know, I'm looking at the TNA roster as we're speaking here, and I'm looking at you know, some of the names, and I'm going to throw a few names at you, and you tell me if you think that they would be a money match. Real quick, Craig says Silas Mason versus Kento Miyahara. Take my money. Double D says Ben Bishop would be fire. I mean, I agree with both of those.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd be willing to put Kento Miyahara in a match with Silas Mason, because I know he's I think he's the ace of All Japan, right?
He's very good, though, and that would be a good match. If they can go 30 minutes, I think, you know, it doesn't have to be a decisive winner. And I think that could be like they could DQ or a draw. I know, you know, Japan doesn't do his DQs like it used to, like that, but I think that still could be something that's great. There's Killer Cross.
Yeah,
he's reinventing himself right now and he's doing a good job reinventing himself. I know there's talent out there. Lance Anoa'i, Samoan, or Sila Fatu, or Juicy Finau. I think I forgot how to say Fanu. Yeah.
Or what? Let me go through some TNA names. I'm gonna throw them out there. Yeah. Just people who I think size wise would line up and maybe have some, you know, a little bit of notoriety that maybe could benefit. So, like, what about somebody like AJ Francis? Is that someone that's going to elevate or wouldn't do anything for Silas Mason?
I don't think he would do very little, if anything. But I think he worked for the NWA for a cup of coffee.
Yeah. What about Jake something?
Jake something, though. There's somebody. He's got size and he's got a look, and I think that'd be a good match.
I think that would be a brutal match. What about somebody a little bit on the older side, but what about somebody like Eric Young?
He's not young?
Not anymore.
Eric Gold versus not Nick Aldis, versus Silas Mason. He's fine. He wasn't always never one of my favorites, but he definitely has some name value and he can wrestle.
I know this isn't one of your favorites either because of where he's worked in the past, but he's somebody that I think would be absolute money. But Mance Warner versus Silas Mason.
No.
Next. All right.
Next.
I that's the one I think you and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. That's one I like a little bit more than you do. Moose. What about Moose?
Moose. Yes. That's a lot of animal right there in Moose and Silas Mason. That's a battle of that's going to be something I would love to see. Moose.
Here's one that I want, but I don't think will ever happen, but I think would be absolute fire if it did. Nick Nemeth.
Oh yeah. And I honestly too, Nick Nemeth should really find a way to wrestle against Mondo. That one should write itself too, but yeah, Nick Nemeth would be great. I would love that. That would be amazing.
And then the last one I will suggest, we already said Steve Macklin, so I won't say that again. But what about somebody like where did I see? I lost his name. Where was he?
What about now the Funk Soul Brother? Oh, sorry.
Eddie Edwards. What about Eddie Edwards?
I used to be a huge Eddie Edwards fan. I haven't seen him in a while. But he used to be really good, so I assume he still is, right?
I haven't seen enough of him in TNA lately, so I don't know what he would look like. But
he used to be great, though. I was a big fan.
Impact just had a great answer. Impact 88. He said Silas Mason versus Davey Boy Smith Jr.
That was where I was going with it, by the way, in All Japan, by the way. That's where my idea was.
That would be 100% amazing.
There's the former Jinder Mahal too. That could be a good name. There's I know the forum would sit there and cream their pants for Bishop Dyer.
I mean, look,
the Discord.
Bishop Dyer, I think would be a good choice, but I think he's on the low list of all the names we've mentioned. let's see. Josh Gardner said a few NWA wrestlers have been on Cafe de Rene podcast. I don't know what is that. Is that Renee Paquette's podcast? What's Cafe de Rene?
Good question. Obviously, we don't watch it because I didn't know. I don't know what Renee, or what her podcast is. What's her name?
Renee Paquette, like John Moxley's wife. I know she used to do the sessions with Renee, and I thought that was a cool podcast. I think they did that on Busted Open, but I don't know what Cafe de Rene is. Josh, if you're still in the chat, like link it or something so I can check it out because I'm not familiar with that. Impact 88 says Josh Something's contract is about to expire soon. That's it. Maybe it was about to expire soon, but I think with the fact that TNA Wrestling is now going to be on AMC, I think you're going to see a lot of guys get locked up, including, but not limited to, I think they will offer Matt Cardona a contract that will allow him to continue to do independent stuff. Okay, it is Rene Dupree, different Rene altogether. Is he still wrestling?
He did an event not that long ago, I think it is, but I do know he has a podcast. What about Maven?
Yes, Maven Huffman, absolutely.
Yeah, that should be. I don't know. He doesn't wrestle anymore, but that podcast he should be doing.
I think it would be a fun podcast.
Yes, and don't forget alliance-wrestling.com and the Alliance guy or the pre-party.
Look, I'm gonna reach out to his publicist right now. And
good. I'll do more talking while you're reaching.
Yeah, you do that.
There's a lot of talent out there, though, that I think would be great. There's people in the NWA I'd love to see him against. I mean, we mentioned Jack Vaughn. That'd be great. We mentioned Hammerstone. If Tom Latimer, if Tom Latimer's wrestling for the NWA, I'd love to see against Tom Latimer. Not right away, but I think it needs to happen. EC3 needs to happen. Trevor Murdoch needs to happen.
They're teasing. They're teasing both either like they're teasing Tom Latimer or Trevor Murdoch at Saul win. And we know what happens, but they're teasing it. So a Trevor Murdoch matchup down the road doesn't seem out of the question. A Tom Latimer match down the road doesn't seem out of the question. And I think he needs those wins. He needs the big victories. I'm not saying he needs to beat every former NWA World Champion that's out there, but victories over some of these former champions will certainly help boost his aura. Sorry, I just love using the Gen Z terminology.
Here's the thing, too. I thought we were the stupid Thanksgiving ruined our Alliance Guys podcast and you going away. But I think they had a good idea that was failed on the concept with that, by the way. I really think they should have had a bunch of people who were challengers all come in and state that they want the new champion. Whenever there's a new champion, there's an aura that they're vulnerable. It's so much easier to win the belt than hold it.
That's true.
So they should have had Hammerstone. They should have had Cardona. They should have had Latimer. They should have had Trevor Murdoch. They should have had anybody who's a serious contender and challenger for Silas Mason should have been out there and challenging him. And when we get into the podcast today, I do think his first challenger was not what I would have done. But we'll go into that when we talk about it today.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We've seen JAC before, and I mean, he was okay. If you're going to make a big move with a big time, your world champion is going to have his first title defense. We'll talk about it in a minute, but I definitely would have rather seen that. Wow. A shout out to Nick Hammond, who's watched 400 minutes of the live stream on TikTok. Nick, I appreciate you. That's a big deal because we go live on TikTok for about 2 hours every Thursday. So 400 minutes is quite a bit of time. So appreciate you jumping in and staying in and watching the show. That's awesome. And I thank you and I appreciate you. Of course, all the folks on YouTube, I know you guys are here for days on end watching the content. So we love and appreciate you guys as well. But let's get to Power. Let's talk it over.
Yes.
I felt like this was an okay episode of Power. And I want to focus more on the positives, but I mean we're going to address
I
the
know.
show as a whole. But there's enough positive things that we could go over that I feel like we don't need to constantly beat the horse to death when it comes to some of the stuff that isn't great. We know that the NWA has a limited ability of what it can and can't do. We know that as of right now, and as far as we know, Billy Corgan will continue to book the NWA. Billy Corgan will continue to be the leadership behind the National Wrestling Alliance. So instead of just saying how bad Billy is, I want to start highlighting some of the things that I've enjoyed about the show instead of really beating up a brand that, they're not going to ever come on here and defend themselves. So this
do.
episode, they should.
I'll debate you.
I'm not going to say it. Not going to say it. Not going to say it.
I was waiting for you. I set you up for it.
Yeah, I'm not, because there's people in the chat I don't want to offend. This was the 25th season of Power, which is, I wish they didn't fudge the numbers. Like, come on, this is like the 6th season of Power. It started in 2019.
Years don't mean seasons.
I know, but like every signature live event should not be a new season, My opinion. Episode 7, by the book. The show starts off with the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Valentina Rossi, as reported on this very podcast, has been wrestling in Japan during the time of the tapings that took place not only in New York for the 77th anniversary show, but the subsequent TV tapings that followed. So Valentina Rossi hasn't been there. They didn't really explain that before the show. They didn't mention it when during the 77th anniversary show, but she's been gone, which is good for her career. She's wrestling in Japan. That's great. So the NWA did what you should do in a situation. They declared the titles vacant. And I support that decision because I feel like, I don't like the idea of the Freebird rule or just go pick a partner and it's cool. No, I don't think titles should be handed to people. I think they should win them. In the WWE, they recently had, when Liv Morgan was injured, she just kind of gave the title over to Roxanne Perez, which I love Roxanne Perez, great talent. But I felt like it took away from the tag team. I don't feel like you should have just been able to give a title. Anyway, the NWA decides that they're not going to rest on their laurels. They're going to declare the titles vacant, and they're going to put one of the top tag teams against Tiffany Nieves and a mystery partner. That partner ends up being Greta, the 7-foot woman, I guess. I don't know how tall she is, but she's huge. And Greta was introduced a few weeks back while Nieves was walking on the boardwalk. If you guys remember, she saw Greta and was like, "I need you," and just took Greta underneath her wing. But we never really saw Greta until just recently, till this episode of Power. The match started off was basically just Tiffany Nieves taking on the Henry sisters, Kenzie Page, Kylie Alexa, and it was a pretty good match. Tiffany Nieves is a solid talent, and this match definitely showcased that. Even at one point, she verbalized to her tag team partner, Greta, "I don't need you," which contradicts what she said a few weeks ago on TV. But once the match looked like the Page sisters got in control, that's when things took a turn. Greta gets tagged in, choke slams Kenzie straight to hell. Kylie, knowing that she doesn't stand a chance against Greta, comes in with a chair, hits Greta with the chair. The referee calls the match. Greta no-sells the chair shot, then choke slams Kylie to end the match. But the titles are still declared vacant. And the interesting thing about that is we know at Saul Win, the titles were vacant then too. So it's like the first time in a long time that the NWA Women Tag Team titles have been vacant. Jane, what did you think of this match?
First of all, Greta is an athlete. You might have saw her on the movie Dodgeball.
Was that really? No, that's not her.
No, it's not.
Okay. I was like, really? No, wait, hold on now.
But I hated this. It had moments like when I don't know. I didn't like it. No, sir, I don't like it. Quoting a horse.
And that's fair. Like, that's totally fair. You don't have to like everything. I think Tiffany Nieves is the next
money.
Yeah, she's great. And, she's been competing at Reality Wrestling. She spent time in Ohio Valley. She's a product of Exodus Pro. EC3 said she is the female personification of what Exodus Pro is supposed to be. I think that's high praise from Caesar. And when you see Tiffany Nieves working, I mean, she's got the promo, she's got the look, she's a great wrestler. She has it all. And I think it's only a matter of time before she will catch up to Markova down the road. I'm not saying anytime soon, but down the road, I'm sure they're going to lock horns at some point. And I really think Kenzie and Kylie are an excellent tag team. I would not hate to see them reunite as Pretty Empowered more regularly and go after those tag titles. But yeah, the match itself wasn't nothing to write home about. It was a good introduction for Greta, just make her look like a monster. But you've already had a monster in the women's division, and I don't think they know how to book a monster in the women's division.
I don't think they know how to book at all, but we'll ignore that.
Well, anyways, so the women tag team titles are still declared vacant because there was no winner. This takes us to the first promo of the night. The Slime Balls are basically sad that they didn't get invited to Silas's celebration, which we never even saw a Silas celebration, so I don't know what they were sad about. We get a revamped Mondo promo from last week where he's kind of reminds me of the Tasmanian Devil. He's just blah, 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 but between talking. Mondo is freaking intimidating, dude. The guy is built like a shit brick house. I mean, the guy is just massive. And I think he's even bigger now than he was before he won the title. And his promo was centered about taking on someone who's 7 foot tall, 300 pounds. It's nothing to Mondo. Mondo's like 7,000 tons of steel or whatever it was he said. And he's a giant killer. So I was very happy to see this Mondo promo. I hope Mondo continues to do stuff like this on his social media accounts, as Jaden alluded to earlier. He is definitely taking the ball and running with it. Loved Mims. Nothing against Mims. But Mondo's the right guy right now for your national title.
Yeah, and Mondo has something. His promos are unconventionally good.
Yes.
That's the best way I can describe it. It shouldn't work, and yet he does so well for him, and it's because it's him.
It's the raw intensity, man. He's just and the announcers alluded it to later in the match that the Mondo you see in the promo is the same guy in the back, getting food from catering. It's just he's intense the entire time, and I like it, man. I think the NWA benefits from having a guy like Mondo on its roster, and of course carrying that national title. It not to take anything away from Mims, because I really do love Mims. I think Mims is a talented individual. Mondo's at another level. He just is. And I don't think it's just because of his run with the WWE or his time on the independents. He's got that it factor. He makes you shut up and listen and look. And then he gets in the ring and starts suplexing people around like they're nothing. And we'll get to it in this match against Tyler Stevens, also known as The Wall. Not The Wall Jerry from New Jersey, which was funny too, because at the end of the promo by Mondo, he said he's going to send The Wall back to Berlin, which made me laugh because if you guys remember the WCW wrestler of the same name, he also was The Wall and was represented by Berlin, which was Alex Wright. Anyway, I also forgot to mention the Holy Grail promo. EC3 preaches about Exodus Pro. The whole, they tie Exodus Pro into this whole, biblical thing. And, there's a lot of Roman mythology connected to Exodus Pro. I don't really get into any of that. But what I did like was PB Smooth cutting a promo. Very calm, very, very, probably the best promo PB Smooth has done. And I think that we heard his first promo just a few weeks ago. The guy can talk, and I'm kind of excited to see what he could do more on the mic down the road. But he basically said that he's coming after Aaron Stevens and Carson Bartholomew Drake, and that he's keeping it cool, but the Grail are coming for Stevens and Drake. Again, I never really thought of PB Smooth as a promo guy, but he's starting to get his chops in, and I think he's starting to sound a lot better on the mic. Did you see this, Jade, or did you skip it?
I think I had it on, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. I remember that I heard them talking, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. I don't think.
You didn't miss a whole lot, and it was quick. All right. Well, hey, Foxy's taking off for the night. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Have a good evening. And for everyone else that's still in the chat, thanks for hanging out. That brings us to the national championship match. We have Tyler Stevens, a.k.a. The Wall, from the... Now, this was a Mandela effect for sure. They called this the Austin Idol Invitational at the 77th anniversary show. They gave us a package of Austin Idol talking about this invitational tournament that in the package they erroneously showed the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship when Idol said that the winner of the invitational will get a shot at the national championship. But then you got Joe Galley saying this was for the Fred Kohler Invitational at the 77. And the Fred Kohler Invitational took place at NWA Chicago back in May. There was no connection to the Fred Kohler Invitational and the Austin Idol Invitational, unless they're just trying to whitewash the whole thing. We know that Austin Idol recently announced that he was retiring from pro wrestling, which I do believe means he's done with the NWA. But why the rename? And if you're going to rename it, why use the name of that you used at an NWA Chicago event? Jay, did you pick up on that, or do I sound crazy right
Yes, I did, and I wanted to bring that up because I thought I was in some kind of parallel universe or something where I was like, did they not say it was? And I think what it is they had the pack, but they decided to change it later. Or was this the one that was recorded even before that? I forget now.
No, these matches were filmed after that. They did do a TV taping in Tampa. I think it was in November, not November. In October, before Saul. No. Well, now I'm not sure. Now
yeah,
I'm
me
not
neither.
sure. But they definitely did have. This was definitely filmed after the 77, so that's why I was confused. Like, why the name? Like, that's weird. And
Yeah, it was, but. That's
right.
the inconsistency, and the inconsistency is the biggest opponent the NWA has to face, and I'll go about that a lot too. Go ahead.
So this match was, I don't know, man. It was a big It was a big deal for Tyler Stevens to win this invitational. They put a lot of emphasis on it at the 77. They spoke about the winner of this match getting an opportunity to wrestle for the national title. You would think that this match would have been like the crowning achievement for Tyler Stevens. And if he didn't win the title, he was at least going to go in that match and put on a hell of a fight against the champion, Mike Mondo. But that's not what happened at all. This was an ass-kicking contest. Mike Mondo won early and often. It didn't even feel competitive, really. And the finish of the match came with the gut check when he lifted up the 300-pound, 7-foot wall and hit him with that gut check to retain his title, first title defense. And he beat the guy that won the invitational. Did they push this match too quick, Jaden? Should this have been reserved for like the next pay-per-view or the next Signature Live event? And what did you think of the match?
All in all, I was not impressed with the Wall.
Neither was I.
He wasn't a brick. Honestly, the next time I think that they book the Wall, they should book him against the Mexican and have him jump over him. But other than that, it's just it was not that good. He's awkward. His movements are a little awkward. It wasn't that good. It was just a guy who is shorter beating up a guy who's bigger, which is fine. But the whole build up and the winning of this thing, it didn't do anything to make this match seem better, in my opinion, because the Wall, I don't think, was the right person to win that match and get the shot, or should have, if they were going to give a tournament win or a gauntlet win or whatever they did to give him that match, it should have been put on somebody that could have had a great match against Mondo and came out better. And the Wall just didn't. He didn't look good. Mondo looked great. It looked like Mondo carried him, literally, physically, and in the ring and physically on his shoulders, carried him. But it was okay for Mondo. It was a win. It just wasn't a national title match that I think meant anything, and that's part of the problem. At no time did I think the Wall was going to win that national title, even if just like suspend my disbelief or just like, oh my God, they might do it. There was none at all that I thought that was that he had a chance to beat Mondo.
I felt the same way. Again, because there was such a buildup for this match, because it was coming off the Signature Live event, I really felt like there was going to be a big moment, like a coming out party for Tyler Stevens. This was going to be his made moment, right? And it just wasn't. And he didn't look great. Mondo looked good, but it wasn't like a signature victory for Mondo either. And of course, it's his first title defense. He doesn't have to prove why he's the best on the first match, but I don't know. I think they could have done better. I think they should have done better. And the fact that they didn't disappointed me. I'm glad Mondo got the victory. I'm glad that his first title defense was easily handled. Could you imagine had he lost after all that shit talking he did about being the national champion, if he lost to the Wall? That would have been bad. That takes us to another promo we get in the back with Dr. Victor, at least he has a name now, and Tiffany Nieves. Again, this is just another reason to look at Tiffany Nieves. Nothing they said it was of any consequence. Dr. Victor said that, the work that Tiffany Nieves is putting in is paying off, and she's going to continue to be the best women's wrestler in the NWA, blah, blah, blah. Like, get to the point. I'd rather these vignettes would be backstage promos with maybe an interview with Kyle Davis or anybody. This was, it's not good.
Gary Michael Capetta lives in Florida, not far from where they tape. That they can bring Gary Michael Capetta to have a little bit of, a history with the NWA. Somebody again has a little bit of, people kind of might remember him from the old school days, and have him in the backstage interview talking with anybody, but Nieves will use an example. I know they think Victor is part of the ascension of Tiffany Nieves, but it's just it's bad. It's bad TV. I say it all the time. Every second of television, whether it's on Roku, whether it's on AMC, should be there to create money. And if it's not creating money, it doesn't. If it's not making money, it doesn't make sense.
100%.
And it does not make sense that they're wasting time with this stupid stuff.
I agree, and to be honest, I was disappointed. So then that takes us to the Colby comeback story. Now, I did like this. Because first of all, Colby Carino is a good kid. He's been a part of the legacy of the NWA for many, many years, even before the Lightning One era. Jaden, you remember him being a part of some of the early the work with the NWA in New Jersey, whether it be with Dangerous Journey Wrestling Gladiators or IWA Vintage, or I think even NWA Call Saul. He might have had an appearance or two when he was a younger man, maybe even a young boy. But he'd been a part of the scene for some time. And, of course, his injury, this is the reality of pro wrestling, that it is not, it is a full contact sport. It is not just a show. And he has some severe injuries from his just wrestling. There wasn't a specific move or a specific instance that caused his injury. It's just been something that's been building up over time. He did get the medical attention he needed, and they told him he might not ever wrestle again. And that's, as somebody who I've never been a pro wrestler, but as someone who did end his wrestling career on an injury, that sucks, man. And when you think you might have opportunity to wrestle later in life, but you cannot because your body does not allow it, that really sucks. I mean, I can speak from knowledge. Jaden, I know your wrestling career was cut short due to injury as well.
Yes.
Well, tell me about how that experience goes. I mean, one day you're a worker, one day you're one of the boys, and then the next day you're not.
Even when I was commentating or managing, you want to be in there, and you still do stupid things when you shouldn't do. And it just further exacerbates the injuries that you have and makes your life even harder in the future. And unfortunately, that's what we have to worry about with Colby. If he can come back, what kind of life he's going to have when he gets my age. or even worse, DK's age, or even you, because you're just turned 75.
You son of a bitch.
But yeah, I hope he can come back and live a good life after. But I also hope he doesn't force himself to come back and cause problems later. That said, though, I did enjoy this segment, and I think it's one of the better things. This is where a vignette or a segment is something that at least has value into the company and helps at least let people know what's going on with Colby. I keep saying like Colby Carino. Let them know what's going on with a person who has been featured on the NWA television for a while.
And on top of that too, I feel like, if there is a comeback story there, if he is able to make the return to pro wrestling, it's we're looking at Chris Bay, somebody who was paralyzed in a wrestling match, and it wasn't a crazy maneuver that he hit. It just, his body landed in an awkward way, and he is doing so much better now. But I mean, he was paralyzed. He was wheelchair bound for quite a few months. I feel like Colby can come back from this, but it's something that needs to be done intentional and slowly, and allowing the body to heal and allowing himself to get into the right state of mind and the right, mind, body, and soul. Because I don't think you should rush anything. We're seeing it with Chris Bay. He's taking his time. Chris Bay might not ever wrestle again. Because an injury like this is very, very serious. I hope Colby only comes back when he's 100%. I hope he doesn't come back when he's like 75 or 65 or whatever it is. 100% or nothing. And the NWA could tell that story. And if it does have a happy ending, I mean, what a great place to showcase it for the National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah.
Then we get the Joe Kazana bit in the back. He sits the champions down. He starts on with Markova. He puts her in a match against Max the Impaler. Says he wants ratings. Now, I can understand Max the Impaler and Markova had a history in the past. We'll probably see that match next week on Power. Markova is, certain that she's going to perform. She is confident in her skills. She's good. She's ready to go. Great. Then Joe Kazana says the same thing to Silas Mason, and he's putting him in a match against JAC. Now, remember, the last time we saw JAC, he lost to Colby Carino. If you want ratings, and I get it, it's just part of the gimmick, but if you want ratings, why are we getting a guy who has zero visibility for the National Wrestling Alliance, a guy who has no wins in the National Wrestling Alliance, a guy who's done nothing in the NWA? Why are we putting him in a title match? He's supposed to be this big, brawly dude, and you put him in the ring next to Silas Mason, and the guy shrunk about 3 inches. I don't know, man. This was the promo itself was fine, but again, it just made the booking look dumb. Do you agree?
Yes. The idea probably is here's a guy who's tall and has some size, and people who may be tuning in see a guy who looks like Silas Mason, who can cut a promo like Silas Mason, against a guy who's just kind of big, and maybe that looks impressive. But the drawing board doesn't equate to what's going on inside that ring, and it was not something I think that they should have. I would have rather seen Aaron Stevens, and he doesn't wrestle a lot. But at least that could have been something, yeah.
So much better. So much better. All right. Then we get, after that, we get another.
I know the Hawk wouldn't agree, but shout out to the Hawk, by the way. And Hawk, if you are going on this, come on this podcast. We could talk about your channel and we could talk about NWA wrestling.
Yeah, Hawk, you're welcome on here.
And Animal, too.
Oh, what a rush. Sorry. Then we get a promo from Alex Misery, which, I mean, we've had Alex Misery on this, well, not this podcast, but the Alliance Blog podcast. I love Alex Misery, but I cannot begin to tell you what he was talking about. And
that was kind of how the interview was when he was on this podcast.
That's what I was talking about. I didn't know what he was talking about. But I like Alex Misery. I like the energy. I like the insanity. I like the commitment to the gimmick. He's one of my favorite guys to watch right now in the NWA, and being a part of the Lost, typically I would think that would hold him back, but I think it's actually unleashing something in him. And as we see tonight, he had a pretty good match. The one promo I totally skipped was the Lockjaw promo with Carson Bartholomew Drake and Aaron Stevens, mostly because Lockjaw doesn't talk, Carson Drake talks too much, and Aaron Stevens is a goof. I get that the Discord loves him. I don't see it. And then we get the TMDK versus the Lost. Now, this is the maybe D level of TMDK, of course, made famous by Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste. They were wrestled in Pro Wrestling Noah. They wrestled all over Australia. They wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Famously, were a part of NXT, where they changed the name to TM61. But TMDK was a huge stable of pro wrestlers. In fact, a friend of the show, Bad Dude Tito's a part of it. Former challenger to the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Jonah, aka Bronson Reed, was a member of TMDK, and TMDK had a huge contingent of Australian wrestlers as part of the group, including Duke Hansen and Slex. Although the only time they ever teamed before was in Australia as part of the New Japan show that they did back in Australia. It was the Bullet Club versus TMDK, and of course TMDK won that one. Taking on the team of Lev and Misery, I was hoping it would be Crazy Steve, but maybe they're just saving Crazy Steve for the signature live events. Hansen just recently made his debut for Gotham Wrestling. Duke Hansen is built like LA Knight. This guy looks like he should be a huge star in pro wrestling. He was a pretty good wrestler. I always thought he was a very good wrestler. He was a good promo guy back in the day. As Elliot Sexton, and then Slex is just a worker. He's just a badass dude. We saw Slex in the NWA prior. He got obliterated by Jay Bradley, and then also he was part of the World's Vampire Tour, where he had victories over Silas Mason and Alex Taylor. Slex is the real deal. These boys are great. I hope that they continue to be used in the NWA. This match was up and down. Like I said, I love Alex Misery. Lev has been putting in some work. You could see that his body's changing. He's looking more muscular. He's in the ring. He looks good. A lot better than the Lev we were introduced to when this whole group started. And a lot of offense by Slex. Hansen was kind of more on the outside, only had a few spots in the match. But I liked both those guys. I hope we see more of them in the NWA. The finish came when they went for like essentially like a doomsday device. Speaking of the Road Warriors, that Lev prevented Slex from getting to the top rope, and then Misery rolled up Hansen for the victory. Huge win, I think, for the Lost, although it probably shouldn't be because they're regular members of the NWA roster, and these guys made their debut as a tag team this week. So shout out to Misery, shout out to Lev. Good job, guys.
Eyeball.
Is he in the chat? Oh God.
I don't know, but I'm just thinking of eyeball.
Yeah, I was like, oh God. Again, the Lost need to get some victories. I don't want them to be used as an enhancement tag team. I want them to get out there and, maybe be the team that challenges the Slime Balls for the tag titles, the U.S. tag titles. I feel like there's a lot. Huh?
Spoiler.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I would like to just see them get more victories in the NWA and be utilized less as an enhancement duo and more as a legit tag team threat. And I really do think Misery has a lot of potential, maybe in the junior heavyweight division down the road. That leads us to the main event. Silas.
What? No, I don't get an opinion.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah. I thought this was my favorite match of the night. Honestly, I enjoyed this a lot. I agree, Lev. It has looked way better, and I would have rather been Crazy Steve because I think Crazy Steve and Misery have a unique combination that I think works well together. Well, but Lev definitely didn't disappoint. I do think that this does build up on maybe a future match with the Slam Balls that I kind of look forward to. Maybe that's something for something in the future, that a Signature Live event, or maybe on one of the promotions out there that are booking the Slime Balls. But I enjoyed this match. I thought, and I was very impressed with the tag team TMDK. Is that right?
Yeah, they didn't call them that, but that's what they used to be a part of.
So I think they have a future if the NWA keeps using them. I think they could be somebody they could also build around and create new stars with.
100%. And look, Duke Hansen is an NXT. He recently was he was in NXT as of 2025. He only left NXT recently, and the only places he's really worked since then is Reality Wrestling, the NWA, and Gotham Wrestling. So I mean, it's not like he's going out there hitting the indies hard. He might be the perfect guy that you could book around Hansen. And I'm not saying he's ready to be the next NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. No. I'm not saying that at all. But maybe he's a guy that would be a good fit for the TV title. Maybe he's a guy that would be a good fit for Mondo down the road. Obviously he needs to get more established in the NWA before we talk about title runs, but the guy has a great look and he is solid in the ring. I want to see more of Hansen in the NWA for sure.
I was thinking as a tag team. I just like that. I know Billy likes to break up tag teams, but they kind of need some ones to replace the ones they break up.
Well, and then Impact 88 just pointed out Duke is a former NXT tag team champion. So, I mean, the dude has had some success as a tag team, and maybe Slex and him could represent Team DK in the NWA. They did it.
They could be TD 6'7".
TM 48. The throwback to the 77-year anniversary. That leads us to the Silas Mason promo. That guy is just so good on the mic. There's nothing more to say. He's good on the mic. He'll talk. I mean, that's kind of going back to his talk with current NWA president Joe Kazana. But he was just so good on that mic, and he said he could be 2 stories tall. That's 2 books I won't read. I popped for that so hard. I was like, that's awesome. He could be 2 stories tall.
Here's the only problem I have. When he's yelling against Joe Kazana, he's a babyface. Yeah. But when he's in the ring, he's obviously a heel. Consistency is another issue with the NWA. That is the issue with the NWA that I think is confusing. And people, do we cheer him? Do we boo him? What's going on? You want to cheer him, but then they make it harder because he's going out as being a heel and wrestling as a heel and talking as a heel. But he's also fighting a heel that's being put against him by another heel. And it's wrestling is, you take a good guy and a bad guy, you give them a reason for them to fight, and then they fight each other and have a good match. That's the basis of professional wrestling. Occasionally you can get 2 good guys, sometimes you can get 2 bad guys, but that should be the exception, definitely not the all the time. Or in the NWA's case, they're good in one segment and a bad guy in the next segment, a heel in one segment, a babyface in the next segment. And that's what is one of the many things that holds the NWA television away from being enjoyable. I know you want to talk about the positive, but I'm going to be me.
Oh,
what about me? I'm not Mondo, but still.
You're not Raven either. But no, I'm not saying you can't say what's on your mind. Of course you can. But
I'm going to anyway. You know that.
Sure.
Sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to say until I say it.
I can't stop you from saying anything. But this takes us to the world title match, and easy peasy. This was slim pickings for the world's heavyweight champion. Jack is not that guy. I think the same result would have been almost anybody else too, but give me some real competition for Silas Mason. This is his first title defense. It's the main event for your signature program that's featured every Tuesday on the Roku app. Silas Mason needs to get some big name competition. Now we know he's going to get it at the Signature Live event, whether it be Trevor Murdoch, Tom Latimer, or artists to be determined. This was just this wasn't it. The guy chops Silas Mason. He no-sells it, calls him a motherfucker, clotheslines him, hits him with a few more wild, like, open hand slaps, then connects with a very ugly thrill ride, which I blame more on JAC than I do on Silas Mason because I've seen him do it to bigger guys and without any problem. And gets the 1, 2, 3. As it should be. As it should be. Silas Mason, hell of a competitor, hell of a wrestler. They need to put some real competition in that ring with him.
If this was a non-title match, if this was a warm-up match, if this was a showcase, you don't book the NWA champion on television because I get big paydays and you guys can't afford me to put me on in title matches on television. So I only wrestle, I use this as a chance to showcase myself. Then I would have been fine with this. But the problem is, first of all, the guy looks like the guy you should be changing your oil and tires at Jiffy Lube.
Yep.
His gear did not look like something that was television worthy. His physique, and I'm no person to talk about a physique. I mean, I do have a body of a god, but that god, unfortunately, is Buddha. But yeah, he did not have anything other than jobber energy. And he might be good in the ring. I didn't see it here. But it just was not what an NWA World Heavyweight Championship event should be. If you defend against jobbers, then you beat jobbers. And I hate to use that term, but that's how this came across. He did not come across as somebody who was a serious challenger. It wasn't like when Lex Luger beat Sid Vicious with the clothesline because Ole Anderson distracted him and got a real quick victory. That wasn't that. This was a guy who did not look like he belonged in the ring with Silas Mason in a championship match. Again, maybe as a warm-up match or just to test your skills or just because you felt like beating somebody up. Yes, that could have been at least worked with. But an NWA World Heavyweight Championship match, it was too pitchy, dog.
I got to speak to Samoa Joe. You guys, the interviews on our YouTube channel, you can check it out. And I said to him point blank, you've been in the ring with Kurt Angle, you've been in the ring with Brock Lesnar, you've been in the ring with Roman Reigns, and not once to me did you ever look like you were out of your element. And he said, respectfully, that's the point. If you don't look like you belong there, then why the fuck are you there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why JAC was there. He didn't look like he belonged. He's supposed to be some sort of badass dude. He should have came in and beat the shit out of Silas Mason for 15 minutes, and then Silas stole one. That's not what we got. We got a jobber getting jobbed out. And Joe Kazana looks even like a bigger goof in this situation because he's like, oh, yeah, careful what you ask for. I'm going to put you in the ring with JAC. He's a big, bad dude. Got his ass kicked. He got his ass kicked in like a couple of seconds. Like the main event only lasted like 3 minutes. So no, disappointing. I'm not disappointed in Thrillbilly. Disappointed in the level of competition they put in the ring with him.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to do it for us in terms of the NWA talk. Of course, this is a moment for Jaden to. Oops, that's the wrong one. I meant to do this. For Jaden to do what he does best, which is hype up what's coming next for the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Jaden, the floor is yours.
All right. There's a lot coming up. We just recently were at the holiday market. We had a lot of fun. There's some footage out there you can check out on our different stuff, but we had a lot of fun. Made a lot of new fans for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. If you're a fan of Vinny the Fixer, if you're a fan of Dylan Mesh, if you're a fan of Silver Lobo, if you're a fan of Primal Fear, you had a lot of fun, and we talked about new wrestlers, and we made a lot of new contacts and new followers at that. And then make sure anytime you see that a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event, whether it's inside the ring or it's just doing the meet and greets there, make sure you take part of it because it was a lot of fun. And we made some contacts, including I'll talk something about you after this too, but if you have a minute. But we made some contacts, and you might see some things that came out of that because it's just being part of it. But if you want to talk about other stuff with Dog Pro Wrestling, first of all, we have an event coming up at Rowan University on Friday late night, March 6th. That's at the Chamberlain Student Center. Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators will be there. Currently signed is the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion David Goldie, Rowan's own. The World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's champion Valerie Verman. the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators heavyweight champion, Vinny the Fixer, and the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators tag team champions, Primal Fear. Vinny the Fixer will be defending the dog championship against the Rowan After Hours Heritage Cup champion, Adrian Soriano. So they're going to be a big match right there. There are other stuff that's going to be there. I'm still waiting to hear back from somebody who's this podcast might know. You might have saw this person on Roku and on other things that are nationally wrestling out there, but we're still waiting to hear back. And we're trying to, there's things we're working on. I know Dr. Zirconium is working hard to put a big event for Rowan University for WrestleMania. God, I still hate that name. But so that's on March 6th. I believe it's March 15th. We're going to be part of the Nerd Force Fan Fest. Again, a little festival. We're going to have meets and wrestlers there, so you can come check us out. That's our second year as part of the Nerd Force Fan Fest, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We get to meet these different people, cosplayers and video gamers, and make them become fans of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, plus all the cool vendors that are always there. So I look forward to that. Speaking of a festival with nerds and geeks, there's the South Jersey Geek Fest, and that is on Saturday morning to afternoon to evening on April the 4th. May the April the 4th be with you. I know it's not work that way, but still. So I know the currently scheduled for that is Valerie Verman, David Goldie, Vinny the Fixer, and Primal Fear, assuming they're all still champions, but either way, their schedule will be part of that event. And there's going to be some great pro wrestling there too. So we'll talk about more about that when things are signed. And after that, we have June 14th at Bill's Barbecue in Vineland, New Jersey. That's a Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday afternoon, Bill's Barbecue for Bill's Big Barbecue Bash. It'll be the All-American Barbecue Bash. They play all the All-American Bash events that we do for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Again, Vinny the Fixer scheduled to be there. Valerie Verman scheduled to be there. Primal Fear scheduled to be there, assuming, again, they're still champions. But we also have a guy you might have heard of. His name is Wrecking Ball Legursky.
Like him. Yes.
If we're going to bring an All-American, I think he's a perfect example for an All-American Bash, or in this case, the All-American Barbecue Bash. And there's going to be more people that are going to be part of that too. So make sure you check that out. That'll be at Bill's Barbecue in Vineland, New Jersey. Tickets will be on sale when it gets closer. And also, if you do go to the South Jersey Geek Fest, by the way, it's a free event if you pay for admission to the South Jersey Geek Fest. So you get to see Dog Pro Wrestling as part of that. And I can't wait to see that. And there's other things in the works, and I hopefully have some news. But that'll take a minute. Because negotiations are tough with Dr. Zirconium doing some things out there to try to get Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators be the premier spot of professional wrestling. Make sure to check us out on YouTube. There's over 200 hours of content on the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators YouTube. Make sure you watch it all, but you can skip the matches with somebody who wasn't very good. But you can talk about all the good people there. Make sure you check out all that content. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators action. And follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Twitch. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on X. Follow us on Blue Sky. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on our webpage. Follow us on, if you're Alex Misery, don't follow me around. But either way, make sure to follow all that stuff and check out the awesome wrestling action of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, South Jersey's #1 wrestling promotion.
Love it. All right, so that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Again, my name is Jay Cal. This has been Jaden. We are the Alliance guys. Hopefully next week we'll have a bigger roster here joining us, but it was a lot of fun. Jane, thanks for hanging out with me. Guys, in the chat, if you're still around, thank you for hanging out. And that's going to do it for us. So until next time, and Jane, I think I got it fixed. We'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the